Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. My name is Sophia, I'm your host. The aim of Let the Quran Speak is to help you gain deeper insights into Muslims and Islam, as is practiced here and in other parts of the world. In recent weeks, international news has become increasingly depressing. The situation in Syria deteriorates daily. In Egypt, the two sides seem further away from each other than ever before. How do we cope? The Quran says that God loves those who are patient. But what does it mean to be patient? Can patience help us withstand difficulty and overcome challenges, or will it make us complacent? Joining me to discuss patience in the face of world crises, Dr. Shabir Ali, President of the Islamic Information Center. Dr. Shabir Ali, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
A pleasure to be on.
Now, I'm sure you've seen the images of in Syria of children gassed and lying there in rows, covered in white. Very horrific images, and ones that can make you very sad and depressed. What are your thoughts on these conflicts and how they affect us?
Well, they do affect us in that naturally we have a tenderness within us for all people and especially for children. And when we see people dying and being killed in such large numbers, we see children after they have been gassed like this. Our heart bleeds for this situation. So what do we do? If there is something we can do, we ought to do that. Mm-hmm. But we also have to recognize the difference between situations that we can change and situations that we personally cannot. Mm-hmm. And in those situations, situations that we cannot change, we need to have patience. Mm-hmm. And a reliance on God, knowing that eventually God will bring about something better than what we witness now.
Mm-hmm. Now, patience is even harder to maintain, I think, in modern times because technology is so pervasive and social media is so pervasive. So it's not just that we might see an image on the news, but we also see images and see videos and hear testimonies regularly, minute by minute, on Twitter, on Facebook, on different social media sites. So it never escapes us. And it's hard not to feel very hopeless and very depressed in that situation.
Yes, and in fact, the depression factor increases in the case of people who have a vested interest in the region. If they have relatives in the region, for example, or friends in the region, sometimes some of their relatives or friends may have been killed. Mm-hmm. in some of these recent events. And this can make it very difficult for people to deal with all of this news coming all at once, and it's news that's difficult to tune out. At one time in our history, in human history, it would have been possible for devastations to occur in other parts of the world. Large numbers of people may have been killed due to epidemics or earthquakes or volcano eruptions or whatever, and we didn't know about them. And we hear about this happening long after the immediate impact. And so the impact on us, in fact, is severely lessened. I'm not saying that we're better off not hearing that news. We do care about individuals in all parts of the world, and we do want to know about their welfare, and we do want to contribute in whatever way we can to help them in their times of crises. But at the same time, we have to be aware that this news can be overwhelming to us, too much for the human psyche to bear. And the antidote to this depression is to have patience with God. Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by patience?
Well, patience means waiting for better things to come about and expecting that better things will come about, or at least accepting that this is something that has happened and there's not much I can do about it, and worrying is not going to change it. Mm-hmm. Again, I want to add that if there is something we can do, however small, whether it be write a letter to a head of state, or join a rally, or voice our opinion, or make a point in some way that is meaningful, then we should do what we can, whether big or small. Mm-hmm. But after we have even done what we can, we still need to have patience, because that situation may still be with us. It's not changed. And we want the change to occur immediately, because the change is so necessary. And at the same time, we can't bring about that change ourselves. So we just have to have patience with that situation, hoping for it to pass over and for better times to come.
Mm-hmm. Would you say the same for an individual whose family member, perhaps, or relative has passed away?
Of course, that individual needs patience as well. In fact, the Quran in the second chapter speaks about the fact that God will test us with the loss of life and property and crops. And He gives good glad tidings to those who are patient. Those who, in the face of such loss, will say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. It is to God that we belong, and it is to Him that we eventually return. And then the reward for this patience is that God says that the blessings of God will be on such persons, and these are the ones who are truly guided.
Mm-hmm. It seems like in the Quran there's a huge emphasis on patience. I found many verses about patience in the Quran, and it seems like patience is often paired up with perseverance. Can you tell me what the connection between the two is?
Yes, at the same time, I want to add here that patience is not is a teaching that is not exclusive to Islam.
Of course,
many of the
yes.
world's great religions have teachings on patience. We find, for example, in the Bible, which is common to Judaism and Christianity, the story of Job. And Job is shown to have exercised remarkable patience, a proverbial level of patience. And that story is in the Quran as well. The Quran actually does speak a lot about having patience, and whereas there are specific obligations for Muslims to do this or that at specific times, patience seems to be something that could be exercised in sundry occasions. Many little things can actually irk people and require patience. If you're stuck in traffic, for example, you could be impatient with other drivers, but rather than swearing at other drivers, the Muslim is taught to make good use of the available time. You might listen to something beneficial, for example, through your audio system, or you might just use that time to say some praises of God. Or whatever. You can do so many different things in that short period of time, many different mental or audio activities, or verbal. You can converse with your family if your family is there, rather than be swearing at the other drivers and getting yourself all worked up, raising your blood pressure and shortening your life. So patience is needed in so many different situations. You may feel that you have been handed the short end of a stick in many deals. You feel that somebody has shortchanged you, they have taken advantage of you. If there's something you can do, naturally you do that. You file a report, you lodge a complaint, and so on. But even after having done all of those, you still need to have patience, because you still feel somewhat angry over what has happened. And you need patience to recognize that, okay, this has happened. Worrying about it, fretting over it is not going to change it. That is a fact. Let me be patient. And for that patience, there is a reward. So patience is not something to do on one occasion. It is something to have with you, to be a part of you throughout your life at sundry times.
And what's the relationship with perseverance then?
Well, perseverance means to try and try again. And if you don't succeed at first, then you just simply try again. One needs to have patience to do that, because if you don't have patience, you would just simply give up. You would take failure as an option, and that would be an easy cop-out. But patience requires then that you keep working at it with the hope that the good thing will come about. Thomas Edison said that he, after having failed so many times in producing the light bulb, he didn't consider those as failures. He thought that each one was getting him closer to the solution, to the success, right? And patience is needed in almost everything we do. If you're at a job, you need patience to work from 9 to 5, rather than look at the clock at every moment, and then the time does seem to get longer. You need to patiently resign yourself to the fact that I'm going to be here till 5, and I'm going to know when it is 5. There's no need to worry about it. Just keep working. If you're studying, you need patience, because the result of your studying will come many years later sometimes, especially if the ultimate goal is a degree that will come after 3 or 4 years. Well, then you need patience to keep working at it, knowing that that goal is achievable and it will be in your hand eventually. But if you say, okay, I don't see anything happening here, I was just working away, studying away, what's the point? Well, then that shows a lack of patience. So you need patience in all of these situations.
So it seems like patience requires some sort of optimism as well. you shouldn't be falling into despair and hopelessness.
Yes, and that optimism comes from faith, because when we believe that God, and we do believe that God controls everything, we know that bad as things may appear to be now, there is some good reason why God is allowing these bad things to happen, and the good things must eventually follow. And in fact, the Quran promises this when the Quran says, "Inna ma'al usri yusra," certainly with every difficulty there is ease. So the difficulty comes, it passes, and then ease follows from that, and the ease comes from God. And this is why we always pray to God, to asking Him to bring about ease and to remove our difficulties, because certainly He is capable of doing that. There may be good reasons why, and would be good reasons why He allows the evil to persist at the moment, but when it comes the time in His wisdom to remove that evil and bring about the good, He will. And in the meantime, by exercising patience, we actually get the mercy of God. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is reported to have said that happy is the case of the believer, because if the believer is struck with some calamity, he or she exercises patience and gets a reward for it. And if one gets good, then that believer praises God for the good thing, and that too brings reward for the believer.
All right, thank you for that, Brother Shabir.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break. When we return, who do Muslims pray to? We'll answer that question soon.